Wealth planning in time of chaos. If you pay attention to what's going on right now, you will notice it's not just a market volatility, it's a deep structural change. And in moments like this, wealth planning needs to go beyond short-term returns. Today's video is about how to position yourself financially and strategically in the middle of a system that's shifting underneath our feet. Because over the past few days, few weeks, and past a few years, we have seen mounting signs of stress in the US system. Say, politically, cooperation has broken down from Congress to the courts to local government. Governance is increasingly shaped by partisan conflict. Economically, interest rates remain high. Inflation is sticky, and government deficits are accelerating. Most families are feeling the squeeze. Living costs are up. Income growth has stalled. Socially, public safety issues are growing in major cities. Illegal immigration is at a record high, and more middle class families are quietly relocating, looking for a more stable way to live. Internationally, the US is stretched very thin, involved in Ukraine, Taiwan, the Middle East, all while domestic divisions grow deeper. These are not random or temporary. These are signs of a system under pressure, politically, economically, and even culturally. So in today's video, I want to walk through three things. Number one, what history can teach us about moments like this. Number two, the mindset shift most people miss during systemic change. And number three, and how to build a wealth structure that can last no matter what comes next. So let's look at history, because this kind of system level uncertainty isn't new, and it rarely happens without a pattern. Let's start with France in 1789. The old system had stopped working. The monarchy couldn't fix the financial crisis. The middle class demanded representation, and aristocracy refused to give up power. The result? A total breakdown of order. In the short term, there was chaos, violence, and economic collapse. But after about a decade of disorder, something very predictable happened. Napoleon came to power, promising to restore order. He centralized authority, restructured the legal and financial systems, and stabilized the country. The key takeaway: when old systems fail to solve new problems, there's usually a period of instability, followed by consolidation and a reallocation of control and assets. So, what does this all mean for us, the everyday people? Unlike a past crisis, they were mostly economic in nature. Today's breakdown is institutional. We're watching a system that is still functioning, but no longer capable of solving its own core problems. The two major parties cannot agree even on how to fund the government, how to secure the border, and how to manage long-term obligations like Social Security and Medicare. Important decisions from budgeting to national defense are increasingly shaped not by strategy, but by political standoff. And underneath that, trust in institutions in media, elections, public safety, even education is steadily eroding. We're not just dealing with inflation, interest rates, or the stock market. We're facing a system that's struggling to govern itself. And when a system reaches that point, history tells us something very specific. A new model usually emerges, but not before a period of volatility, consolidation, and a wealth redistribution. So, what do most people get wrong during times like this? There are two common mistakes. The first is using a stable era mindset to interpret an unstable reality. People keep thinking once inflation comes down, things will go back to normal, or maybe after the next election, the country will stabilize. But that kind of thinking assumes the system is just temporarily off track, not structurally shifting. It's like trying to fix a cracked foundation by repainting the walls. The second mistake is waiting for clarity instead of building readiness. People delay decisions because they are waiting for something, some official signal like a market recovery, a new administration, or confirmation that the worst is over. But in reality, by the time the headline says it's time to act, the opportunity has already passed. In transitional periods, the cost of inaction is often greater than the cost of imperfect action. That's why those who do well in these moments are not the ones who predict everything correctly. They're the ones who build flexible, durable structures before the shift becomes obvious. So, how do we build that kind of structure? Let's walk through three key shifts that can help us stay resilient, even in a system that's changing. First, shift from a growth mindset to a structural survival mindset. In the past, wealth planning was all about growth. You invested for long term returns, rode the market, and counted on the system to reward patience. But in the transition period, the most valuable thing isn't growth, it's durability. Ask yourself, if most of your assets are in tax deferred accounts, like say 401k, what happens if tax rates go up? If your retirement cash flow depends heavily on government programs like Social Security or Medicare, what's your backup plan? What you want is system independence, the ability to survive and function even if government benefits shrink or if policies shift dramatically. That's where things like Roth accounts, cash value life insurance, or even geographically diversified assets come in. These are structures that don't rely on a single system to keep working. Second, don't just diversify assets functions. Most people have a very one-dimensional setup: their home, their retirement accounts, a stock portfolio, maybe some cash. But those assets often move together. They rise and fall based on the same economic assumptions. In the system of reset, that kind of portfolio can become fragile. Instead, we can think in terms of three types of assets, each serving a different role. Number one, liquidity assets for flexibility and emergencies. Think, say, savings, short term reserves, or cash accessible insurance. Number two, stable assets to generate reliable income no matter what the market is doing. This could be annuities, principal protected product, or conservative fixed income tools. Number three, growth assets for long term upside, say stocks, real estate, international opportunities. It's not about chasing the highest return anymore. It's about making sure you can withstand pressure without being forced to sell at the wrong time. Third, design for restartability. If there's one thing we know about uncertain times, it is that outcomes are hard to predict. That's why it's uncertain. So instead of asking, what's the best case scenario? Ask, if things fall apart, how quickly can I regroup? That might mean having a remote income stream or access to capital that's not locked in retirement accounts, or even a plan B, a relocation option, an offshore strategy, a trust that creates legal separation. You don't have to act on all of it right now, but you should be able to answer the question: if I had to shift quickly, financially or geographically, what would that look like? And here's the bottom line: real security does not come from government promises. It doesn't come from predicting elections or timing the market. It comes from structure, from building systems that can adapt when the world around you doesn't. Just like the merchants who quietly preserved their wealth before Napoleon came to power, the ones who didn't wait for perfect clarity, but who prepared quietly, adjusted early, and moved when others froze. That's how we stay in control, even when the system is not.